from Julio Cruz and Gaylord Perry to Alvin Davis and Harold Reynolds to father and son back-to-back bombs, from Junior J, Joey, and Edgar with Randy, A-Rod, Dan, and the Sheriff, to Ichiro Moyer and Mikey C, to King Felix, Kyle Cruz, and Cano, to the present with Julio, Gilbert, Kirby, and Cal. I don't believe it. It just continues. My, oh my, it's another sports podcast.
Oh, we got a Rangers fan wanting us to cry. He wants us to wallow
Texas
in our
Power
tears.
Rangers talking that shit already.
Nah, ain't gonna cry yet. At least
Nah.
let's wait until after we play St. Louis. I'd be willing to shed a tear.
Yeah, until we're mathematically done, I'm gonna hold out hope.
Yeah.
Got it.
Well, this team's being led by a couple of guys that have been there, done that in terms of epic late season comebacks. So we got the right dudes to keep the troops rallying.
True. Definitely. What do you think about because to me, after watching how everything is kind of played out, I really think that Servais was just 100% scapegoat, that they needed something to do, and Servais was the man that they landed on. I don't see them getting rid of Jerry, because Jerry does too good at doing the devil's bidding for Stanton. I really think there's a problem with the guys that we have on the field. Just him not sliding just is inexcusable. And then again, Randy not being able to get those runners over when we had that late inning chance. Just typical Mariners Sunday afternoon.
My, oh my, it's another sports podcast, man. And it's clear and evident that the jubilation with the hiring of Dan and Edgar have worn off by now. The reality is right here in front of us. We're 5-4 under Dan Wilson right now. And y'all know, sometimes we do it proper. Sometimes we like to just, because we always chew the fat before and after we hit the live button. And we just decided to let you guys in on some of the shit that we talk about off the mic because it might interest you too. Got to give a huge shout out to our homie Indy out there in Nashville, Tennessee, Vaden Podcast Services. Him and his wonderful fiance, Darby, do incredible things for the show behind the scenes. We got Jerry B6 in the house today. What's going on, bro?
Woo, what up?
I got to give a huge shout out to all the homies in the live chat. We appreciate each and every one of you bringing the fire, bringing the knowledge, telling some jokes. But y'all might have gotten the hint as we were just chewing the fat before we really dug into this thing. But my man, the OG, the greatest co-host a dude can ask for, has been going back to Cali RG. What's up, bro?
Where do we start off at? I think we're supposed to be at number 3. So number 3 in our tribute to the Notorious Big, breaking down the 10 crack commandments. Number 3, never trust nobody. Your mom will set your ass up properly gassed up, hoodied and masked up. For that fast buck, she'll be laying in the bushes to light your ass up. Man, you had a good time out here. Your boys live from Anaheim, California. Went to the game this afternoon to get to see Bryce Miller on the mound doing his thing. Tough loss for the Mariners today. I really thought we had we had this one in the bag, had some momentum, especially after Mickey Moniak decided to be Mickey Mantle and kill us yesterday. Just didn't go our way, and really hasn't gone a whole lot of our way since June 18th, but we got a whole lot of time to get in that tonight. It's time to go to work.
Let's do it, baby. And we haven't talked to you in a minute, Jerry, but you are the resident catcher for the show, I'm going to say. So just tell me what you're thinking, man. And I mean, everybody was thrilled, but Dan Wilson, now the manager, 5-4 start with him running the ship. What do you think about the firing, the hiring, and anything in between?
Well, I mean, obviously, I love that Dan, the man, got the job. I have always been a fan of his, but I mean, it was inevitable. Something had to happen. It's unfortunate that I'm with RG. I think Scott was the scapegoat because it honestly does not feel like much has changed since Dan has gotten in there. Doesn't seem like there's an extra fire lit under these guys or anything. Maybe for the first couple series or whatever, but no, I'm maybe Dan's pulling guys sooner than Scott would have, like off the mound or out of the bullpen or whatever. But other than that, it seems like everything's moving just as it was when Scott was in there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, man. Sunday evening media responding to Texas Power. At Texas Power is wondering why we're not crying, and I'm with Sunday evening media. We made the playoffs 5 times in 47 years. We've had our hearts broken numerous times. We've had even more seasons where we weren't even competitive, where we're just praying for football to start out here. So it's hard to shed tears because we've become so callous to this team that any sort of success thrills us. And even a positive Mariners fan like me is always expecting the worst. RG, man, you gotta go like punch Mickey Mouse in the face or some shit while you're down there, man. Because the Angels have been pissing me off. You look at the total right now, bro. We are 5-8 versus the Angels this season, but that's a very skewed number because we swept them early in the year. Since July 11th, we're 2-8 versus Anaheim. That shit cannot happen against a below 500 team if you yourself expect to make the playoffs.
That's the thing that matters the most, really, is not so much what we did against them in the beginning of the year, because April can't really make or break us since we came out so hot. It's everything that's happened since June 18th. We are playing terrible baseball overall. I think we might have finally climbed out of the bottom barrel of being the 2 worst teams in the league, but we're still in the bottom 5 of that metric. Put something to you like this. We all celebrated when we got Eugenio Suarez and Teoscar Hernandez off the roster and thought that that was going to cure everything. That's between them 428 strikeouts. Teoscar Hernandez has become so valuable in the Dodgers lineup, it absolutely makes me sick. And since July 1st, guess who has the most RBIs in baseball right now?
Gino.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. I like Randy Rosarena. I thought we should have gone after him over in the offseason. But I shared this article with Ty earlier that talked about how Rosarena and Turner and JT that we got from the Blue Jays probably are going to turn out to be the 3 worst acquisitions that happened in the trade deadline. And I know that Justin had his 2 home runs last night, and that was a good moment for Justin. How did last night end for us? How did today end for us? We're still leaking water out of the ship. There doesn't seem to be anything we could do to get a constant plug in there. And time is ticking. It's no longer early. There's no longer time to sit and keep hoping that we can do any trading off with Houston. We need to track Houston down. And if we're going to track Houston down, that has to happen before the series that we played. Because even if we catch them even if we get those 3 games we play against them in the middle of the month, we still have a lot of ground to close. The Yankees, thank God, have been playing kind of mediocre baseball as well, too. St. Louis might give us a hell of a lot of trouble. Texas Power Rangers homies out there in Arlington can play absolute spoiler to us. And then if we're playing bad against shitty teams, who's to say that we sweep Oakland at the end of the year? The time is now for us to be able to switch this thing around. If not now, then when? It's just been real tough to follow along with it.
100%. Yeah, it seems like the Angels have been our thorn in the side this year. Can't do nothing against them. They always rise up for us. It's like what was that, the A's a couple years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always that one team. Doesn't matter what they're right. It's like the Rams with the Seahawks when the Rams were bad. Like whenever they came to town, it didn't matter who was on the team. You know it was gonna be a slugfest, coin flip finish.
Well, it's not just the Angels too. The Detroit Tigers just have our number.
Oh yeah, them too.
Absolutely.
100%.
Me and you met on Bleacher Report, and that running joke for a long time was the season was always over after we lost the National Series. Well, I guess now we got to add the Tigers and the Angels to that.
Right? Yeah.
But it definitely seems to me that the issue isn't just Scott's voice. I'm not sure that this team is built to win. We have a bunch of lovable pieces. Victor Robles came by in the second inning, and where we were sitting at today, next to the Mariners dugout, it was hard to find an Angels hat in the row that we were sitting in. So he came by and showed us some love. When Andres Munoz was on his way to the bullpen, he looked over and showed us some love because we were out there making some noise for it. It was nice to get that type of interaction with it, but at what point do we trade the lovable relationship we have for talent that can actually get us over the hump?
Well, we went
I
for
was
the
happy to see JP come in and get his hacks, but I honestly thought that if they were going to, I know that they were playing matchups, but Turner's had the hotter bat. And I get the matchups. I'm not an idiot. I played baseball since I was 6 years old. Been a fan my whole life. I get why they put JP in, but
Yeah, he hasn't been in since coming back.
at all,
Actually, even before.
right?
Yeah. This hasn't been his year.
Driveline has let
We'll
us
say
down. Hasn't. It hasn't.
that. Right. Okay.
Try to get a hold of this thing.
man. Well, you guys, you got to execute. You have to execute. And I mentioned this on last week's episode, talking with Indy, and someone on social media asked the simple question: is Dan Wilson going to be able to turn it around? And I said no. And it's not against Dan, but the players got to execute. The players got to come through. And it's simple. If we don't close the door at the end of the ball game with the bullpen, between the hitting and the bullpen, if those guys can't execute and play good ball, it really doesn't matter who the manager is. And I'm as thrilled as anyone with Dan, but I was more thrilled about Edgar Martinez being the hitting coach because I feel the hitting coach can have a more tangible effect on the team compared to the manager. The Mariners have actually scored 4.56 runs per game with Edgar leading the squad, but we're still only 5-4. And I know it sounds super simple, guys, but Houston just swept Kansas City in 4 games. Kansas City's a real legitimate threat. And I know it's super simple, Jerry, but winners find ways to win and losers find ways to lose.
That is factual. Yeah, I thought for sure we were gonna make up at least 1 or 2 games on Houston this series. But yeah, no, they slammed the door right in our face on that one.
RG.
How did Shannon Sharp like to say it, that we find ways to snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory instead of it being us finding ways to snatch victories out of the jaws of defeat? I think that Houston's pedigree coming down the end is going to be a huge difference. They believe while we're searching. And I also think it's a disservice to put any of the hitting woes or what may happen over these last 3.5 weeks, any of that on Dan and Scott, because they inherited, in essence, a shit show. And really, Servais can't put the team together. That's not what his job is. This team was put together by 2 men. And from a standpoint, and we're still even split as fans. I look at the Bleacher Report comments and look at some of the message boards. There's some people who still have the utmost faith in Jerry, and I'm like, well, what have you done for me lately? Because that's the type of world that I live in. What have you done for us lately? And we could all go back and harp about the 54%, this, that, and the other. And I've been screaming ever since he said it. 54% is a marketing play and an organizational strategy to keep those turnstiles turning. They don't give a damn whether or not we have postseason success or not. As long as we are all going out buying $89 tickets, buying $16 beers, $15 hot dogs, and $12 buckets of popcorn, they could give a fuck about whether or not that 54% actually translates into whether or not it gets us into the playoffs or not. I mean, you look at the division leaders, all of them are playing above 54%. The guys that holding the wild card spots are paying at 54%. So, there's always going to be the naysayer like, oh, well, you could look at that. And if we were 54%, 54% ain't going to get us shit because the only way for us to get in is to win the division.
You want to know
We're
how
going to have
much
to play
the
at a
script's
better clip
flipped?
to be able to do that.
The script has flipped, though, bro. We've been saying that all year, but Houston has gone on such a charge lately that we're 6 games back of Houston and 5.5 back of Minnesota and Kansas City. That's where Houston is just surging. They're a winning ball club. You call it the pedigree, and it's absolutely freaking true, dude. You can call them a cheater if you want because that's what they are, but they're also freaking winners. And you were referencing just kind of not taking care of business to a certain extent. 3-13 versus the Angels and Tigers in the last 7 weeks. 3-13 versus the Angels and Tigers. That's just not going to get it done.
The year we had that magical playoff run, we were killing it in one-run games. Our record in one-run games right now is absolutely fucking pathetic that we just can't find ways to seem to get it done. And it's going to be, I was saying a couple weeks ago, to be a fan of the Mariners, I'm telling you right now, go to your local dispensary, get you a good ounce, go to your local drugstore, get you a good healthy bottle of Tylenol because you are going to need each and every one of those pills as we move forward over the next 29 days to get to the end of the season.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be a rough one.
But I want to be a little bit positive here, like Mariners Life are saying. It's not over yet. But I've said this for like 3 Sundays in a row, basically, that it has to start now. And we keep waiting. And I'm finally coming to the conclusion. When you play 162 baseball games, you definitely are what your record says you are. There's no question about it. And it looks like we're a 500 team. RG, while y'all were talking right there, I sometimes get little ideas in my head. So I quickly looked up on my phone, did a quick little calculator addition, and the Mariners lost 97 home runs from the players that they got rid of this offseason. We lost 97 home runs. Our additions have hit 72. That's a 25 home run difference. The strikeout problem is worse than it was last season. You can't tell me those 25 home runs are literally the difference between first place and a 500 ball club right now.
Or at least being able to have us more than 5 games back in the wild card hunt at the beginning of September. I definitely understand. I really thought that they did the best they could with what they had, but to me, it almost seems like we were meant to be here. That this was kind of what they were hoping for, was that there's hope in September. They can still rock out those 2 home series that they have with the Yankees and the Astros and get some good numbers in the T-Mobile. Solidify us having a great year at the box office, putting money in the organization's pocket. And if it resulted in us making the dance, that would just be the cherry on top. Again, how can you tell a businessman to put performance over profit? Even though we desperately want more playoff runs, this team deserves to have more playoff runs. This is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, since we've come out of COVID, now the fourth straight year where we're on the fringe coming into September, which is going to make for some exciting games. But I'm tired of being the team that just sneaks in or sneaks to the last week and then having heartbreak at the end. If you're a Mariner if you're a Mariner fan, you already know how the story plays out. The chapters have been written for us for the last 23 years on how this plays out as we get to the last 2 weeks of the season. But again, if I had the answers on how to be able to make it different, I wouldn't be sitting in this hotel room in Anaheim. I'd be sitting in an office in Seattle. And then even if I was sitting in the office in Seattle, who would be told? I wouldn't be told to just shut the fuck up, because that's not what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to make this money. But just tough, man. Real tough.
Jerry, I got to ask you a question then here. Everyone on Bleacher and all social media platforms are pointing the finger in every different direction for the Mariners. Absolute free fall, frankly, since the middle of June. Do you have a direct person, coach, players to blame, or do you think it's more of just everything kind of coming together and falling apart?
I mean, the only one entity that I can truly point and fully blame is ownership. It's obvious that they don't want to, go out there and spend the money to put the roster together that a playoff team needs. But it does, I mean, especially with the recent firing of Scott, and now we got Dan in there, it doesn't seem like much has changed. I mean, it seems like Edgar's definitely helped out some plate appearances for most of the guys, getting a good amount of walks, and Julio's looking better at the plate. Although that 17K game is a glaring fault, but there's definitely something culturally wrong in the organization, and that's got to stem off of Jerry some way, somehow. Him and Hollander. I don't know how much it does. I don't know how far it branches out. Maybe it is time for a change, because maybe 9 years it's a parasite that's just taking root, and it's not going to go away, until we get a fresh new idea in here and fresh new set of eyes and thoughts. Like, it's people are used to the norm of what Jerry and Hollanders and this ownership's idea is. So if it does go that high, I think Jerry's got to go. But unfortunately, I think ultimately we all want ownership to go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I was pounding the table this offseason to trade for Juan Soto. And what's crazy too is San Diego had to back up the Brinks truck in terms of prospects. The Yankees actually got Juan Soto for pennies on the dollar, but it's clear to me that the Mariners didn't want to pay a corner outfielder $31 million this year and have him walk next year, even though it drives me crazy. It's short term because Juan Soto is the type of player that can change a lineup. He makes everyone around him better. And even if he walks next year, it would be easily worth the prospects. And the Seattle fans, you know it, Jerry. If you produce a real winner, you not only do you get so much money funneling through all different avenues because everyone up here wants to be a part of it. You also get years and years and even like a decade of grace. Look how long that we put up with the Seahawks just because they won the Super Bowl 11 years ago. I keep coming back to it, but that's just real up here that if you really win, man, people will just put money hand over fist to be a part of it. And I just want to look down at this really quickly, though. Sometimes you just have the same problems and it's frustrating. But in the two Angels losses this week in RG, 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position and 18 left on base, The manager can't hit for you. He can't execute situationally. And I don't care if we got Lou Piniella. I don't care if we got Buck O'Neill. I don't care if we got Sparky Anderson. Name whatever manager you love. The guy's got to execute to a certain extent. Not a certain extent. Guys have to execute. Munoz, it's a 1-2 count. That slider has to be buried on the guy's foot. It cannot touch the strike zone. Walk-off home run last night. Game over. And Munoz is the last guy I want to shit on right now, too. He's got a 1.92 ERA. He's been one of the best players on this team this year. But this is what happens when you're 500 is one of your best players has 6 losses and 5 blown saves. RG, these guys have to fucking execute.
We've been screaming that for weeks now on this platform. It doesn't matter who's calling the situational aspects of the game from out of the dugout. The guy in the batter's box has to be able to do what I think is the most difficult task in all the sports, to hit a round ball with a round bat. And we just do not come through in clutch situations. What was it a couple weeks ago where Haniger had that bases clearing double to win us the game, and the overreaction was, oh my God, we do have clutch guys. One action, 1 week that you can't duplicate doesn't make you clutch. We've seen what happens when the game is tight and the ball is in Steph Curry's hands. You already know how that's going down. I'm old school. You know what, when it's crunch time and the red and black Chicago Bulls have that ball, Michael Jeffrey Jordan is getting every single one of those touches that you know what's coming through. Even though I can't stand his guts, when Tom Brady has the ball the last 3 minutes of the game, you know 2 things are going to happen. There's going to be a phantom holding penalty that keeps their drive alive, and then that Tom Brady's going to find a way to get that ball into the end zone. Just the constant performance when the game is on the line is absolutely what we need. I still think that this goes back to Admiral Tight Pants and that cockeye fastball he threw Yordan Alvarez. Just being on the brink of finally getting that success we want, to get oh so close, and just to not be able to play good, solid baseball when it counts is absolutely fucking frustrating. And again, I don't know what has to happen to be able to put us to where we can have one of those type of teams. Well, I do. Once Stanton has to sell and we have to get rid of Jerry and Justin, then we just open up the door for all types of troubles. We talked about a couple months ago, if we spent like crazy, like the Padres did with nothing to show for it and lose Juan Soto, we'd be burning down Pioneer Square as we speak. If we had Sandy Cohen, who just is willing to throw money at whoever for whatever, and then turn around and lose DeGrom and Scherzer to the exact same team in the exact same offense, off season, again, we'd be marching up and down the public pier there with torches ready to go. If we had Dombrowski from Philadelphia, who's able to piece this thing together, but even he still can't get a team that's been that good over the last few years to handle what the big dog was in their division, and that looked to be the Braves after they won their championship, to then not be able to beat the Diamondbacks to get to the World Series. It's real tough to be able to piece the regular season and the postseason all together for success. We look at the Philadelphia 76ers in basketball that won that 4 bounces off the rim from a Kawhi Leonard shot keeps them from being able to do anything. And that was probably their best chance to be able to do something, even after a bonehead decision like paying Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. These steps are so intricate and so trying to find a proper smart sounding adjective, but I'm just going to come out and say it. A lot of luck goes involved when preparation meets opportunity, is what the definition of luck is. And we're just an unlucky franchise at the moment. I think it'll come. I think it'll come. I would like to see it come before my lifetime is over. But I gave Tyler this stat a couple weeks ago, Jerry. Do you know that in 31 years, the Florida Marlins have never won their division title?
I did not know that.
How many World Series do they have?
More than us. That's wild.
Yeah, man, it's just absolutely tough. I even looked at Rendon today take his at bat and watched him get the game-winning RBI that turned out to happen in the 5th inning. If you'd have told me after 2019, where that guy has a top 3 finish in the MVP race in the National League, eventually losing it out to Bellinger, that it would be 2025, and that dude's an afterthought after all that money that they've given him. Just whatever acquisition that's necessary to try to help you get over the hump could also be your downfall and your detriment. They go after Rendon. They think they finally have the healthy 3-headed monster that's going to get it to him. Trout hasn't been healthy since. Ohtani now plays 40 miles up north. And only reason I really give a fuck about Anthony Rendon is because I got to see him play in person today.
Yep.
You know what the Angels have done in this century? They have won it.
On a World Series.
I know.
I saw the trophy. I saw the trophy in the stadium today.
Okay. Okay, cool.
And I wanted to break the glass and take it. but even that wouldn't have gotten the Mariners to the promised land.
The only reason I bring that up is I think the Angels are just a mess of an organization, like you were pointing at, RG. They spend all this money. They seem to can't do anything right. They usually have one of the worst minor league systems. And then somehow the Mariners cannot beat this fucking team right now. It's driving me crazy. But big bro, we got a lot of good shit that's been coming in on the live chat. Tommy is sick of depending on the Seahawks for his serotonin. He wants the Mariners to bring it for us. Tommy does not want his kids to go through a lifetime of Mariners tragedy the way we all have. And I really do feel that, man, because it takes a certain loyalty to love the Mariners. Jerry and RG, I know y'all can agree. It'd be really easy to jump ship, but if you're a Mariners fan and you've been that way your whole life and haven't left yet, you are the definition of a loyal person. I ain't leaving my people for nothing. We're going to ride through this thing no matter what, thick or thin, win or loss. But Texas Power Ranger, I love it, bringing that shit talking. Seahawks providing serotonin. Look it up. Look it up. In this century, the Seahawks have one of the top 5 records in the NFL. Granted, there's only one Super Bowl to show for it, but that's kind of the norm. The Patriots and the Chiefs have fucked up everybody's perspectives on successful NFL organizations. Those are the outliers, not the norm. 2K Red Eyes is back in the house, bro. And I love his name, 2K Red Eyes, man. Got to get on the sticks with you, but I haven't been good at 2K since about 2010 when Kobe and Pierce were getting at it. But a lot of these guys are happy that we fired Servais. I've been a huge Servais supporter, and I do agree that we finally fired him, but I'm going to go against a live chat and think he didn't deserve it until now, because I don't think you can fire a manager that goes 90 wins, 88 wins with close to a bottom third budget. I think that's pretty darn good. But we've been going back and forth, and RG loves to bring up how we seem to be so happy to get rid of Suarez and Teo, which hindsight's 2020. Those are terrible moves. Terrible moves. And Jerry, the old saying is a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. The Mariners this offseason chose to let the birds in their hand go. They went looking in the bush. We still, like I said, okay, check this out. The Mariners are the worst at striking out in baseball. So much so that there's only one team in the major leagues that averages over 10 strikeouts per game. Only one team strikes out more than 10 times per game, and that's the frickin' Mariners. And we have 25 less home runs as we stand, Jerry. I'm no mathematician, but that shit does not add up at all.
No, it doesn't. I think one problem with our organization is, I mean, everyone knows we have the hardest park to hit in, whether it be the Marine Layer, whatever people want to argue, distance for the walls and whatnot. But it is proven that our park is hard to hit in. But constantly turning over new players each season, I don't think that's it. I think we gotta let guys settle in and get used to it. Giving them one season saying, "Oh no, you didn't work out, get out of here." I don't think that's gonna work. So I mean, I'm staying hopeful. I mean, as bad as Garver has been this year, I'm staying hopeful that he will be better next year. And I kind of hope we keep Polanco for that same reason. But yeah, I think if we would have kept a lot of players that we've had over the last few years for a second season, things would have gone better for him. Like uh, who?
You
Adam.
better not say Jesse Winker.
No, not Jesse Winker. Fuck, I can't remember his last name. Adam. We had him
Oh,
for
Frazier.
21. Frazier, yeah,
Adam Frazier.
Frazier. Like, I wish we would have kept him. Like, I was so stoked when we got that guy, and yeah, it didn't work out that first season, but he's a solid guy, and I wish we would have kept him the next season. I bet you he would have balled out for us.
Trying to catch lightning in a bottle is the approach that I think that they're trying to take, is get some of these great value discounts. Hopefully you could put them together and hope for the best out of it. I was saying too, until Sports Illustrated writes an article saying that we're next and we're coming, that might be our only hope. Because if you go back and look at the two teams who they did that with in the 2010s, they did it with the Royals and they did it with the Astros. Royals back-to-back World Series appearances, got their World Series championship. Astros have been playing for the World Series just as much as Tom Brady has played in Super Bowls. Just crazy to see how all of that flips around and kind of comes back to it. But again, because I look at the Astros and they don't have, none of their acquisitions are, well, other than what Verlander, are multi-million-dollar a year players that you're running out there. Most of those guys came up through their system. What is the difference between how they're able to put that together and why we can't seem to rub two sticks together to start a fire out on the Northwest Trail next to Mount Rainier? It frustrates me when you see what has worked for other organizations and how they're able to get there, and we are just, and nothing that we're grasping at just seems to hold and take place to it as well too.
Yeah, I think the problem, especially trying to compare our rebuild to the Astros, is I mean, we definitely didn't do nearly as long of a rebuild, and we didn't tank for X amount of years and get all those top draft picks, which all those guys were top hitting prospects. and that they came to fruition, and most of them are still there. I think with us, I mean, it's obvious our pitching is so dominant. So when Jerry started our rebuild, he focused pitching with those first few years of draft picks, and that's working out. Now we're waiting for the wave of bats because he's went away from pitching and went more for the bats for the next few years after that. Unfortunately, I'm thinking unless we're able to re-sign some of these pitchers, we're only going to have like a year or two of overlap between the hitters and before we start losing these pitchers to free agency. So, I mean, honestly, I think that is probably our most realistic window to, as long as these hitters hit. But I think that's going to be our most realistic window, like 26, 27, unfortunately.
To have a time machine to bring back a younger Nelson Cruz to this lineup, I'd kill for.
Right.
Man,
So sad.
Emmett Brown's got more jokes on this live chat than Bernie Mac, man. You'll be loving this right now. Rest in peace, the legend, too, I should add. But 2K Red Eye saying it's time for a blockbuster trade. I couldn't agree more. I'm stealing a line from a local newspaper writer who always says, you don't hang banners and get trophies for prospect rankings. We have 8 in the top 100. I want to say like 3 of them are shortstops. Correct me if I'm wrong. You don't play 3 freaking shortstops. You could trade 2 to 4 of those top guys and still have a really good farm system, still have a bunch of guys coming up. You can have the best of both worlds. The point of building a great farm system is to give you the ability to trade for major league players, and also you want to bring your own guys up, but you mix and match. You know, like RG just referenced, man. You maybe you keep Jordan, you keep Altuve, but then you trade some guys, and then you get Justin Verlander when the time is right. That is how you maneuver with a great farm system. Oh man, Emmett Brown saying that the Mariners Moose might be the player of the decade, and that Jesus Christ is going to come back before the Mariners make it to the top. And he's got way more jokes than that. RG, I can't wait till you can get back and see these guys. But
I was just thinking a couple of minutes ago. Is it time for us to sacrifice the Moose to the Illuminati?
Maybe. Might be necessary.
That's a hell
Or at
of a
least worth a shot.
sacrifice.
Is it
Yeah.
though? Is it though?
You know, it's got to hurt. That's how you know it's a fair trade.
You heard the man. Moose. We got to, just like Moses in the Bible, we're going to have to lay you on the altar and slaughter your ass, baby. Man. So I've always been screaming on here that I really think that we should have done something to move and let go of some of these pieces. And I get it. I get why some of these guys don't, but not on the offensive side of the ball. Other than Julio, what of those guys have really brought any value or benefit to us in the last 3 years? Locklear had a couple flash in the pants appearances, but he obviously wasn't ready. Everybody's favorite, Jared Kelnick, couldn't, just at what point are we, like you said, able to let go of some of those what could be for what is and get what is in here and help us get to where it is we want to be? Or is it that with us being fans and just so starved for October success, are we being too impatient with their plan? I mean, this is really only year 1 of the magical press conference from last season. Are we really not giving it enough time to be able to work? Or has the desperation of the long fans that have been around here since 2001, we don't want to hear that shit anymore, 20 years, 23 years with one playoff appearance is far too long. Something has to happen, and something has to happen now.
Yeah, I think 100%. There's a lot of desperation in there with the fans' turmoil, but I think in reality, I think we are too early on the rebuild results. Like, I mean, to think Jerry turned this.
But
What's
it's
that?
9 years. But in 9 years,
No, not the rebuild. I would say this was year 4. Well, I would say truly year 3 after the rebuild was for the most part done, because that first year where we were actually kind of in it when we had like 71 run wins or whatever it was, that was a fluke year. But because when Jerry got here, he had what, Cano, Nelson Cruz, and all those guys. That wasn't his team. Like, that was it Jack Z before? Well, whoever the GM was before. So he had his team, and then he tried to make that one work for a few years, and then he was done, convinced ownership to go with the rebuild, and then, I mean, you got to at least give him a few years of trading off the pieces, cutting the contracts and whatnot, and getting his farm the way he wants it, and getting his roster the way he wants it. And then I would say the last 3-4 years have been the results of his rebuild. But I mean, obviously there's something wrong with his eye, as far as maybe he's just, the guys he's going for is he liked them. Like, he's because he always says we've had our eyes on this guy for a long time, and we've always wanted him. We've always been in talks with this team about this guy. Maybe we're always just getting him too late, like Polanco. That is probably the most recent example. Is when we first traded for him, Jerry's like, yeah, we've wanted this guy for years. I've always liked this guy. Now we have him. He's declined. He's always hurt, which, I mean, he hasn't really been hurt that much this year, so that's good. But they just they just can't hit when they get here. I mean, maybe it is the batter's eye. I mean, that's worth a shot of changing in the offseason. Like, if Teo's coming out saying that and he's on a fucking tear right now, why not change the batter's eye? Do something. I mean, something's got to work, because it is uncanny how many proven hitters have come here in the last handful of years and just shit the bed.
Well, you said it, man. They got their eyes on these dudes. Like, the poster child for what you just said to me is Colton Wong. Because when we acquired Wong, I vividly remember Jerry's saying, "Oh, we've wanted Colton Wong for years now." And look he's washed. I'm looking at I decided to look him up right now. Colton Wong is in the minor leagues right now, guys. So, like you just hit the nail on the head, Jerry, is that they're trying to acquire these guys they wanted for years, but you didn't get him in his prime. You got him when he was washed. You make the trade, you pay him millions. The dude's in the minor leagues already. Major whiff. Major whiff. And then, in regards to the Mariners window and why I am in a rush to get it done, and I know I'm not the only fan that thinks this, is I don't think some of our guys are going to stick around long term. That's why I say it's a 2-year window. Logan Gilbert, free agent after 2 more seasons. Arozarena, 2 more years on his contract. Robles extended for 2 more years. Cal will have 3 more years. Kirby will have 3 more years. And if you promised me right now that we would re-sign Kirby and Gilbert, I would be on the train of being more patient. But I just don't see the Mariners giving all these top of the market contracts to all these dudes. And regards to Cal, I love the guy. One of my favorite players. The only guy that in the lineup has earned his paycheck the entire season. But by the time he hits free agency, he's going to be like 32, 33. I can't give a catcher a Boris bag at that age. I think we kind of need to let somebody else pay him at that point. I just want to give a huge shout out to Texas Power Ranger right here. Epic clapback, RG. He's saying that Emmett Brown's jokes are worse than the Mariners team batting average.
You got lucky, Texas Power Rangers. You got lucky. You got lucky that you faced Seawall when he was just Paul Seawall and not motherfucker Jones, or you wouldn't have your goddamn World Series title. Fuck out of here.
I take that luck. I would love to be lucky.
Yeah, just once.
Yeah.
Just once. Just once. Just once. Just once. I talk about it often with the NCAA basketball because my University of New Mexico's have Richard Pitino instead of Rick Pitino. And I've been telling everybody who will listen, I'd rather have Rick Pitino get our NCAA championship and whatever sanctions and violations come from the board 3 years later. You may be able to take the banner out the building, but you can't change the fact that my eyes seen that title get raised up to the fourth floor.
You know what happened?
Man,
The NCAA can take down a banner, but everybody remembers what happened. You know, I'm
sure
with
do.
you for that.
Sure do. Sure do. I remember Louisville winning it. They can try to discredit all that shit all they want to. I remember watching Louisville raise that title.
Yeah. Louisville got a few
All
dogs
we
from
need.
Seattle to help that program. They be recruiting any and everywhere, man, coming all the way up to the Northwest to get some ballers for that squad.
True, man. True. True. But yeah, man, I just it is going to be real interesting how this plays out the next couple of weeks. I don't have it in front of me. I don't know exactly where we go to on Tuesday, but I do know at the end of the week we end up in St. Louis with the Cardinals. Trying to see if my memory will help me out right now. I did have a lot of beer at the baseball game. Shout out to the guy sitting next to us buying those tall boys. I think we have the Cardinals, and there might be a series before we get to the back-to-backs with the Yankees and the Astros, leading into Texas, and then I believe Oakland after that to close it out.
Yeah, we got 4 with Oakland starting tomorrow, and then St. Louis.
All right. Yeah, man. So if there's ever a time for us to have this come to Jesus moment and to get right time, it has to happen. It has to happen. If there's any team that's in more disarray than we are, it's the Oakland A's. And but who knows, man? Those guys might be out to try to prove something to the loyal supporters. And we this year have been playing shitty against sub 500 teams.
Oh, yeah, we play up and
as
down
this
to our
series
teammates
show.
or opponents.
Sure do. Playing down to the level of competition, I believe is how they said. So we definitely need to see if we can get some wins in Oakland. We can't have one of those series where it's like the Tigers and then head off to St. Louis. Then I would begin to lose faith and say that it's a wrap for us on the 2024 season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's only a couple more nails left before this coffin's sealed, but we definitely gotta get things going against Oakland for sure.
And they're going to have to bring their own enthusiasm, man. 4 games at Oakland this late in the season. Looking at that stadium reminds me of when I was playing junior high baseball. One fucking person in the crowd, dude.
I don't blame them either. I don't blame them either. I don't see how they could just kind of let that thing fall apart from being one of the top franchises in Major League Baseball to just the absolute shit shows of shit shows moving forward. Just if the Expo story didn't end as bad as it did, everybody would think that the Oakland A's would be the worst story in all of baseball.
Yeah.
So I like to kind of be equal on my thoughts, guys, and a guy I'm always giving the flowers. I'm always praising him. I even made a TikTok all about how great he is. But elephant in the room, George Kirby's been straight up struggling recently. There's no way around it. George Kirby has ace potential. He pitches that way sometimes, but I got to keep it real, guys, man. And this is concerning to me because it's now an entire month. George Kirby had a 6.84 ERA in August with 9 home runs allowed. And if there's one bugaboo for the Mariners pitching staff, it is giving up home runs. There's only 12 teams in baseball that give up more home runs than the Mariners. So we actually have a propensity to give up the long ball. And it's such a difference maker, and especially for Kirby, because I looked a little deeper into it, guys. So Kirby has a shitty ERA in August. A huge part is 9 home runs allowed. In July, 2.21 ERA, 0 homers allowed. In June, 1.74 ERA, 2 home runs allowed. We saw Munoz give up the game-winning bomb the other night. What was it? The Angels had 4 home runs in total Saturday night. And the bottom line is,
Two guys.
yeah, 2 guys. 2 guys with 2 homers each, they got to keep it in the yard. And it's hard for me to even bitch about the pitching staff at all, given what the hitting's given them. But like I said, ever since the new regime's taken over with Dan and Edgar, we're at over 4.5 runs per game. Me and RG have been saying the entire season, give us 4.5 runs per game. We'll show you a team that's going to win the division or at least make a legitimate competition out of it. But right now, man, we need more out of George Kirby. It kills me to say it, but I just have to be honest, because guys like that, I am kissing their butt all the time. And I got to keep it real that this dude has had a really tough month, and we absolutely need him to turn it around.
We do. If he's going to be one of the 3 kings, I definitely need king performances from him moving forward. I'm still thinking the overall diamond in the rough on our pitching staff is Brian Wu.
Oh yeah.
Every time he's out there, I just become more and more of a fan of his. But then I look at what could possibly be done to get us some better bats. Hopefully, Wu has a very good next 3 weeks moving forward. And if he's the guy that's trade bait to get us a bat, we need offense. Pitching alone isn't going to get this done for it. We need consistent offense. And again, to scream about consistent offense in a sport like baseball, all you have to do is be effective at your job 30% of the time and you make the Hall of Fame. As much as we like Cal, I looked up at the scoreboard today during one of his at-bats, and, I told the Mariner fan sitting next to us, I thought that it could have been JP that had a chance to be the captain of the team, but it's clearly Cal Raleigh. And the guy who's performed the best at the plate for us is still only hitting 3 points above the Mendoza line.
Yep, he's all power right now. It's either boom or bust. Seems like.
Yeah, man. Would love to see some more production from Rojas. I personally think that Urias shouldn't see the field outside the dugouts other than pregame warmups to help someone in the outfield get loose playing long toss. Trying to think who the guy they had up from AAA today, number 76 up there. Maybe get him a couple more at bats as we move forward throughout the course of the year. Sad to see JP just not
Talking about
half
Rivas?
of what he did. Rivas.
Yeah.
Rivas.
Absolutely.
To see JP not even give us half of what he gave us last year is a little heartbreaking. But that's just life as a Mariner fan.
Yep. We can't have consistency.
You need more production than 4 home runs from third base. You just do. It's simple.
True.
And
What's
although
Matt Chapman's numbers look like on the year? Because that's who I wanted, but then
Yeah.
everybody was telling me he's old and can't hit. And think he's doing all right for the Giants.
Well, he also brings several gold gloves to the table also.
That pick play he had in that game against us, just the ball sailed on him and just, oh my God. Dude is just an amazing baseball player.
Yeah, that would have been a great pickup. That would have been a great pickup. And I think what happens, honestly, RG, is in the offseason, we nitpick players' weaknesses, acting like the Seattle Mariners. We're trying to act like we're like the 1920s Yankees here or some shit like that. Why are we nitpicking other hitters, dude? We just need anyone that can hit a little bit. But that's just what happens in the offseason, I guess.
Yeah, we get bored.
Yeah.
Gotta find something to debate.
So here's one thing for you, boy, and for everyone on the live chat or anyone listening, I gotta give RG his props all the time because he was the first person I ever heard say that LG, the OG, Logan Gilbert, is the ace. He's been saying it for years now, and he was right before everyone else knew it. But it feels like a wasted season now at this point because the Mariners have 81 quality starts on the year. 81 quality starts leads the major leagues by 12. The Phillies are second with 69. We have 12 more quality starts than any other team in baseball. And your boy RG, Logan frickin' Gilbert, is tied for first with 21 quality starts himself. We've given ourselves chances to win ball games. We just haven't cashed in.
I thought that this was his Cy Young year coming into the season. I really did. I thought that the Lost Stars had aligned for him. He had the confidence in himself, and just when are we going to stop giving our pitching staff the feelings? It used to be comical to say it when it was happening years ago, but here we are years after Felix has retired and gone on to other ventures in life. And not only do we do it to Logan, but we give 5 guys a week, it seems, to Felix. Then we have the one breakout. Everybody goes nuts. Like, hey, we back. We ain't back. We ain't back.
We got lucky.
Back. And I don't want. We got lucky one game, and I don't want to be that cynical dude. Like the Mets series. You'd have told me that this is where we would have been after it looked like we finally got our strides during the Mets series, that the boat is still hemorrhaging water, and we can't seem to steer this thing to the shore to save our lives right now. But I will throw up this. Depending on how the season ends, if they can try to make a push or a run, do we give Dan and Edgar a full season to run it? Or is it time to go find the guy who's going to be the piece in the clubhouse that we need for the next 4 to 5 years to try to get this done while our window is open before it rapidly shuts?
Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they named Dan the manager.
Yeah, as of right now, he is the manager for next season. And Edgar is just for the remainder of this season. But honestly, I think I would rather Edgar named hitting coach through next year and possibly branch out for a new man, maybe a younger manager with some new theories in his head, like Mike McDonald and the Seahawks. Like we need some fresh perspective. I think it's like that whole parasite idea I was talking about earlier. We gotta start changing some positions in the office, and we need to change the culture some way somehow.
Is there anything in the office that could be done differently, though, if Stanton's still the guy that holds the checkbook?
Yeah, true. I don't know. That
Because me and Ty had this conversation a couple of weeks ago where, we could kind of foresee them letting go of Service. Didn't think it would happen during the season. But I also think that Jerry does a good job of doing the devil's work for him. Where if you're Stanton, do you really want to get rid of a guy who, with limited means, has made your team competitive enough to stay mentionable in the race? It's not a big three, it's two and a possible, and we are that possible. Do you really get rid of a guy who can do his job that well to keep the interest close enough April to September and those turnstiles turning? Do you really, if you're Stanton, do you really get rid of a guy who really is that good at his job? And it pains me to say that Jerry's good at his job because we aren't going anywhere fucking again. We're not going to win the World Series. But from what the Mariners' overall business philosophy is, Jerry's the man at that.
And don't
Yeah.
forget Kevin Mather's comments a few years ago that were so damning. He's bragging at the Bellevue Rotary Club to all of these highfalutin businessmen how they are scamming all of the Seattle Mariners fans and doing it so wonderfully. And he's so proud of it. They have to fire him because it just looks so bad on the organization. But I think me and RG are kind of in lockstep on this one. But well, I'll ask you then, Jerry, do you think Stanton is going to fire the president of his business that creates the best profit margin in their industry?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
No, I don't. But I mean, honestly, I don't think he has like I said, I don't think he has a very good eye, or maybe it's just timing on as far as bringing the major league level players. But I would like to see his crop of hitters he's drafted come up before fully dismissing him on how good of a GM he is. I mean, it seems like we got a good crop of hitters almost here. And if those guys can hit, those could be the missing pieces for the last couple years of having this rotation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't
Time
seem
is
like they're
running
close.
short, Mr. DePito. That's what I heard Jerry B6 tell you. From one Jerry to another, he's saying, hurry your ass up. That clock is ticking, baby.
Mhm.
We ain't gonna be too willing to be too patient with your punk ass for too much longer.
Because, I mean, here's the
Exactly.
thing. How close are you really if you're in double A or single A? Like, a lot of these hitters we're talking about, like Lazaro, are across the bridge from me in frickin' Everett right now. You still got to cross galaxies to make it from Everett to Seattle, even though they're on the same freeway.
I think that's been changing lately. I think Double A is where most of these top prospects are coming up from.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like they're hitting Triple A before they get here. I mean, all of our pitchers have done that. I don't think any of them saw Tacoma before coming up.
Mm-hmm. No, that's absolutely true.
Everett Modesto to the majors, huh? That's the route we take it.
That's what it seems like.
But that's the only
I don't
thing
know.
that worries me, though, is even great Major League Baseball players don't always succeed right out of the gate. Usually, it takes some time to become a quality big leaguer. I think we're all just worried that time's going to run out. And this is why I kind of want them to be aggressive. And some of my friends hate me for saying this, but I got to speak the truth on it. In 4 years, when Kirby's on the Yankees and Cal is on the Red Sox, you're going to look back and think, damn, we really should have gone for it then.
Oh yeah.
Did you have to say Cal on the Red Sox? Didn't we already give the Red Sox a catcher that helped them win the World Series? Didn't we already do that?
It's not an accident
And
that
the,
I picked that team in my brain, but
Heathcliff Slocum. Just if you're a Mariner fan old enough to remember, Heathcliff Slocum. And I didn't even know until me and Tyler met last year and going over that horror story. When the Red Sox called, they wanted either or, and whoever picked up the phone heard, "Oh, you want them both?"
Here, we'll help you start your World Series run here right now.
Oh, fuck.
You know, just the pains of being a fan of a suffering franchise who gives you a lot to cheer for, but just can't seem to when the time is necessary. Jerry, man, it's me and you've been rocking on Bleacher Report together for a long time, always going back and forth, having fun with each other's comments and posts and whatnot. I'm always happy to have you join the show, man, and whatever insight it is that you always bring to us, and just whenever we get to do the give and go in this live format, it just makes it even better, man. What else is on your mind as we get ready to start NFL season and after the first week of college? You a UW guy? What did you think about their performance?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to the college football. I try and watch a few games here and there, and obviously I got invested last year, especially at the end. But no, I'm excited for Seahawks. I'm excited to see the new era. You know, and I'm excited to see what Mike McDonald can do with his defense, because it cannot be any worse than it was last year. So I think if our offense is the same as it was last year, maybe a little bit better with Grubb's schemes, and Mike McDonald gets us up into the top 20 on defense at minimum, I think we can make a playoff run.
All right. I like to get tying into shit and tell them, at least for this year, be ready for that fourth place finish in the NFC West. But
I definitely think the NFC West is going to be very competitive this year, especially if all the rumors are true about Kyler. I think Kyler got his shit together. I think the Cardinals can be a force.
yeah, he did have his one moment in the sun where they were lighting the world on fire, and then they pulled the Philadelphia Eagles and didn't win a game since. Yeah, man. Yeah. So again, we still got the better part of 4 more weeks to see what the Mariners can do to try to salvage what has been a very lackluster 2024 campaign with us. August started again tomorrow night in Oakland. All I can suggest you do is get your MLB app if you don't live in the area like I don't. Root Sports, cheer your ass off for them. Just send as many good vibes and good wills. There's still a possibility we could pull this thing out the mud. I'm thinking back to, we may have had the second biggest mid-season collapse, but a couple years ago, God, I wanna say the Braves ran somebody down in the last 2 weeks of the season, to be able to make the playoffs. And if it could happen there, it could happen to us. We just need to find a way to get some of our hitters rolling. I like where we're at with Edgar scoring more runs at a steady clip, but it's still some of the holes are there, taking bad at bats, having brain farts on the base pass like we saw today, and just some unlucky shit, that just happens, man. But that's the nature of the game, is you're trying to unslump yourself as well too. Ty, man, anything else you got for us, my brother?
Yeah, so there were some guys on the live chat that were extremely upset about Rayleigh not sliding there, and that I was screaming at the TV too, because that's one I don't get, and it frustrates me because the dude seems like he always hustles. Why weren't you hustling on that play? Like, honestly, I don't really care if you run really hard when you ground out to the second baseman. That really doesn't like turn me on. Like, I can respect it, but if you just jogged it out, I'm not going to really care. That's a critical moment in the 9th inning, and you just lackluster to second base, and it basically reminded me of T-ball when you don't know that you need to slide and can't run past the base. So the coach is like, stop. Like, oh shit, I need to stop here. So disappointing, but I mean, I guess that's kind of being a Mariners fan to a certain extent, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, even the Angels replay department on the big boards in the stadium were trying to shoot him some bail and maybe show an angle or two where it looked like his heel got down. But by the time they showed that replay the second time, it was like, yeah, man, get this dude the fuck off the field, bro. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, a little toot of my own horn before I forget. I've been going to baseball games since I was 6 years old, and I never had the chance to be part of the lucky phenomenon. But today, we did walk away with the game ball, baby.
Hell yeah.
First one we've ever gotten, man. Would have been nice to try to hang around next to the dugout since we were sitting right next to it to try to get some autographs, but those guys wanted to get the hell to Oakland just as fast as I wanted to get out the heat.
Understandable.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. Shit. Lot of good stuff coming up by the time we join you each and every Sunday night. Next Sunday, we're going to have a lot to talk about. We're going to have 2 professional football games that have already kicked off, a full slate of Sunday NFL games that are talking. Will be in week 2 of the actual start of college football after the week 0, 4 games and the full slate yesterday. We'll see where the Mariners sit coming off the last game of the series in St. Louis to see if we've done any damage over the 7 games or if the hemorrhage has continued. The best is yet to come as we keep moving forward here on My Oh My, another sports podcast, and we hope that you guys join us each and every week for it. Let me shoot it right back to Ty real quick. I see you itching, brother. What's up?
Oh man, Emmett Brown asking if we tried cheating yet. Let's call Brett Boone, man. You ain't cheating, you ain't trying, something like that. But all I know is whatever that guy got on when he came back to Seattle, man, hook the dudes up. That was maybe the best offensive season a second baseman has ever had, and Lord knows our lineup could use it.
And the only reason they gave a damn is because they didn't want to pay him. Be honest. The only reason they gave a fuck is because they did not want to pay that contract extension. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Jerry B6, you got anything for the people before we get ready to get on out of here?
Guess let's just try and remain hopeful as much as possible. We're not out of it yet. Still mathematically there, and let's hope for the best. It's going to be a long, bumpy ride for the last month.
That's right. Grab you a Tylenol. You might need it. Homie Ty, what up, dog?
Well, if you're not allowed to be smoking that weed, get those CBDs, man. That shit does wonders for me, and I like that a lot more than your ibuprofens or Tylenol. So that's the route I'm gonna take to suffer through the end of this one. But hey, you know what? Well, let's be a little bit positive here. We are only 5.5 games back in the wild card, 6 games back in the division. No one thinks they can do it, so let's just go and fucking do it.
Absolutely.
Crazier shit has happened. The first step to 1,000, the first way to get started on that 1,000-mile journey with the first step. And let's see if we can get on the right foot as we go into Oakland. Again, none of this could be possible without the people that support us the most. Vaden Podcast Services from Nashville, Tennessee. Our super producer, Indy, on the ones and twos, making us sound like champions each and every week. And the management staff out there in Nashville, Tennessee. Also, as always, want to give a big special shout out to our social media director, Ms. Katie Masamoto. Thank you for all the work that you've done. First time that I've been able to get some content in and have you flip it right away and get it out to the people, and shout out to the people who followed and can't hit that like button. Don't forget to always subscribe to the show at My Oh My ASP. You can find us on YouTube and Twitch each and every week live. You can follow us on Facebook under the same handle, Instagram, TikTok, And if you don't get a chance to be a part of the live show here with us each and every Sunday, the episodes do come out each and every Monday, in between Monday and Tuesday at that magic hour. Since our production company is in the Eastern time zone, I happen to see it before Sunday turns into Tuesday, but you can always catch us wherever you get your favorite podcast from. On the left side of me, that's the homie Jerry B6. Always a pleasure to have you join us. My man Ty Talks 24. A big shout out to all of you in the live chat. Hope you join us each and every Sunday night as we continue to make this thing happen. And thank you for the support you've given us. This is My Oh My. It's another sports podcast. Peace.